Hello. Today is Tuesday, August 7th, and it is about 10 after 8 o'clock. I'm sorry it's been a while. It's, I think, been a little bit over a week since my last video. Derek and I have had a lot going on in the past 7 days. The biggest thing would be our dog. We ended up euthanizing her, so she passed away. She was 14 and she lived an incredibly long life, so that was still very tough for us, especially for Derek. He's had her in his family since he was 15, so almost 15 years. So that was really hard. It was unexpected, but we knew we had her on borrowed time, if that makes sense. So, and then also less than a week after that happened, we ended up getting a new puppy. So we have a new German Shepherd puppy who's 12 weeks old. His name is Bruin. And we've had him for about 3 days now, and he's been great. We actually just got home from walking him around the neighborhood a little bit. So he's been a joy, but we are just crazy. I mean, it's funny, everybody says that getting this new puppy is kind of practice for when we have a child, and it really is. But he's been pretty easy, so knock on wood, it continues to be that way. But anyway, so it's been a long week. It's been tough, but also great at the same time. So some things that I'm thankful for this week. Good friends. We went out this past weekend and spent an afternoon with a couple of our good friends. Just a great day, and we really needed it after the week that we'd had. It was real special. And another thing that I'm thankful for this week would be where we live, which is Charleston, and how amazing it is to live here. And there's just so much to do and so many great things to experience. So that's what I'm thankful for this week, is our great friends and family. So since last time I did a video, couple things I wanted to touch on. One of the weirdest things about this journey, and one of the more stressful things for me, has been financing our fertility treatment. Once they slid that number across the desk at our first appointment at Coastal, all of our gears in our minds were starting to turn as far as, even though our wonderful insurance is going to cover about half of our treatment, how are we going to come up with the rest without, completely wiping out our savings and everything else? So when we were at Coastal, they gave us brochures on financing companies that specifically were for having loans for fertility treatments. And we looked at the brochures and didn't really go any further than that, mostly because the interest rates were outrageous. And so we thought maybe a home equity loan would be our best bet. But then when we looked into that, turned out that was not the case. It was just gonna take way too long. Who we finance our house through they don't have local bank branches here, so it was going to take months to get that money, and we would have to refinance the house and go through the whole mortgage process again, which we hated the first time. It was a nightmare, and I did not want to go through that again, particularly because who am I kidding? I'm going to be the one doing it, so I just didn't want to do it. That, and we weren't going to get enough money to really cover the entire treatment anyway, so it wasn't really worth the work. And so then Derek and I started going to our different banks, because we bank at different places, and trying to figure out what would be best for our situation, whether it was going to be a personal loan or a personal line of credit. And we ended up going through my bank, and we set up an appointment together one Saturday morning. And the person we were originally supposed to have the appointment with was actually busy when we got there unexpectedly. And so we were directed towards this wonderful person named Daniel, who helped us in every single way possible, and he explained to us the differences between the two lines of credit and personal loan. And of course, out of curiosity, he was asking us what we needed the money for, and I just said medical stuff, because when I had first gone into the bank a few days before that and I talked to a different person, I said we were going through IVF, and she looked at me and said, well, what is that? And it's not that I don't mind talking about it. It's just I didn't want to go into the whole story and shebang right then and there. So when we spoke to the second person, I said, it's medical stuff. And again, out of curiosity, he asked us, well, what do you need the money for? Or how much are you going to need? And at that time, we had a range, and even still now, we don't know exactly how much we're going to need from start to finish. So we gave him our range and told him we weren't really sure how much we were going to need, but we needed it, kind of right now. And so, he was kind of like, okay, well, let's see what we can do. And as he was typing on his, computer, he was saying, it kind of sounds like a similar situation where my wife and I went through fertility treatments. And as he said that, Derek and I just kind of side glanced at each other, and we were like, is this for real? And so I just kind of looked at him and I said, that's exactly what we're going through right now. And he said, well, who's your doctor? And we told him that we were going to Coastal Fertility and who our doctor was. And he said that he and his wife also went through Coastal and were successful in their first IUI treatment with them, and that they have a son that is 18 months old. And he said, I asked him how his experience with Coastal was, and he said that it was amazing. And obviously, if they were able to have a successful pregnancy on one IUI treatment and nothing else, they were extremely happy with their experience, and that he has recommended them to many people, including family members. And it was just so nice to talk with somebody while we're trying to get financing that has experienced a similar situation to ours. I can't even tell you what a relief that was for us. It was a meant to be, as many of my aunts would say, a God moment. It was planned for us. I just know it. And, even Derek said as we were leaving, after we had applied for our personal line of credit, he said how nice it was to not have to explain himself to somebody. And, as we're going through this, because as much as we love sharing with people, it's a challenge to kind of repeat ourselves over and over and go through the process and explain everything to somebody who doesn't necessarily know. And so it was just so nice to kind of catch a break, so to speak, and just kind of look at somebody and have that mutual understanding. So that was really special. We ended up being approved, and so we don't have to worry about our how we're going to pay, which is a huge relief off of my shoulders. And so not long after we did that, TMI alert for those of you who don't like to talk about stuff like this, but I started my period, which was kind of a marker in our schedule. I was told when I started my period to call our nurse coordinator, which I did, and she scheduled me for my day 3 labs, which included lots of things. I actually went to one of their other locations in the area. It was a 15-minute visit before work one morning, super easy. Filled up about 5 vials of blood that were about this big. It was funny because I work at a vet hospital and we use a lot of the same stuff. So it was kind of interesting to watch somebody pull my blood as opposed to me pulling blood from a patient at work. But anyway, they took blood and they were going to test me for FSH, LH, my estrogen levels, my thyroid function, as well as a HIV, hepatitis B and C, and then an AMH. And a lot of those tests kind of, they're very fertility related. My FSH, that helps mature the follicles in my ovaries that release the eggs. My LH, which is the luteinizing hormone, triggers ovulation. And my estrogen levels tell them my ability to produce eggs. And then the AMH, which I was not as familiar with, is an indicator of my ovarian reserve. Who knew? So, and then FSH, for those who don't know what that stands for, is follicle stimulating hormone. So I had a lot of blood taken. And I think most of those results were in about a few hours after I had the blood taken. And I think they did try to reach out to me. They probably couldn't leave a voicemail with results for medical records, but I'm not too worried about getting those results right now because I have an appointment with my doctor in 3 days from now, and I'm going to go over those results with him. I have my calendar in front of me for anybody that's wondering. I have a very full month of things going on. So my next appointment is later this week. And I'm actually going to sit down with my doctor and talk about not only my results, but Derek's blood results that were done before. When we made our appointment for my day 3 labs, our nurse did tell us that everything on his end came back okay. So I'm not really sure what that means right now. When we talk to him later this week, he'll let us know if he thinks that Derek should be referred to a urologist or if he thinks we just need to move forward with our IVF. But anyway, so also later this week when I go to the doctor, I will be doing an x-ray that determines if my fallopian tubes are open or if they're blocked or any issues like that. I will also be doing what they call a trial transfer, which is kind of a practice run for when they transfer my embryos. That'll be in a few days, and then, after that, my mom and I are going to take a little mini vacation, just us girls, to the beach, and take a little bit of time off of work, and I think it's the perfect time to do that before we get started with, the rest of everything. But this appointment that I have in a few days is going to be a big one, as far as getting a lot of information from my doctor. I have a lot of questions for him moving forward, and, it's funny, they told me I needed to have a full bladder when I have my x-ray and my trial transfer done later this week, which I don't think that's going to be a problem. I drink a lot of water, so I feel like my bladder is probably always going to be full. So not a lot to go over this week. Again, we've just been really crazy busy. But my 3-day labs were so easy. I can't say enough about the staff at Coastal and how easy they've made, coordinating my schedule with theirs. really I'm just waiting on this next appointment to see what happens. And at that point, that's when my doctor is going to go over more of my results, because some of it will have taken a few days to get those results back. So I will know more about my fertility situation in a few days. So after I have that appointment, I'll try to have another, video uploaded after that. So until next time, wish me luck with our new puppy, and everything else. Gosh, I know we're crazy for taking this on while we're going through all of this, but it's kind of been a nice distraction, to be honest. Something that needs us to take care of it, and he's been a joy for sure. So if anybody has any questions, just reach out to me in the meantime. I'll try to have another video up in the next week or so. Have a good night. Happy Tuesday. Till next time.